Okay, so a week later after I did a fairly popular video of this Citroen Elysee of an overview, I thought I'd finally do now, as I've got only 3 days until I go home. I thought I'd finally do a review on this Citroen Elysee, as they're not in the UK. There's been quite a fair bit of interest on my viewers in the UK and the US that don't have these at home. So, well, let me first of all bring the first review of this lovely car that I have here for my rental. So let's have a little look around and I'll tell you this inside the car, as it's a bit windy out here. Okay, so now finally back in the car when the wind's not as sort of strong, because the audio is sometimes can be a bit of a mystery when trying to make these videos outside and on the edge of an island, as in when I'm filming this video in Lanzarote. So I finally have my conclusion on this vehicle. Now, as it being only a European edition, briefly speaking, some people do have them in the US for either importing them because of course they're left-hand drive. Apart from, I think I did see one day when they were selling these in Japan. That's the only place you can get one of these, weirdly enough, on right-hand drive. And why, as their European edition, why they're selling them in Japan, I don't know. Well, I believe it was Japan. It might be in the Chinese market, but it was right-hand drive, and I think the Chinese drive still have their steering wheel on the left-hand side. But more than anything, though, how does it drive, and what's the bad sides and what the good sides are? Well, first of all, this is quite a cheap car already, being as it, I believe it being a 2016 plate. It is already, the depreciation is not massively bad, but as in being cheap cars already, they have depreciated quite a fair bit. I believe this, looking on as they still make these cars, starting prices for a new one of these start, I believe, from 8,000 euros. From the top of my head, I believe. Anything from the news price, you can pick one of these particular years up, anything newer from around about 7 or 6, depending on the version. This is the standard HD 1.6 HDI engine. You can get them in, they're pretty much stuck on that. They're both the same prices for petrol or diesel. This is a diesel one, like I just said. That's what HDI stands for, if you're not familiar. Most people always think of them bit diesel or more being known as TDIs, but Peugeot calls their diesels as HDIs. So more than anything, I'm going to tell you one of the good sides and the bad sides. Well, first of all, as Citroen and Peugeot make these, they're very much the exact same. Driving is not a problem, handles perfectly fine around the corners. Okay, it's a 1.6, and apparently this is meant to be known as 115 horsepower. Now, to be honest, it's the best rental car I've had for power outages. But more than anything, the power can be is maybe a little low for an engine that claims to have 115 horsepower, but though it does feel like it's there, but from the low end to try and accelerate high, it does feel a little bit too slow. But I'd imagine though a Flash would definitely fix that, but though it is a little bit, though it is something though to think about. So yeah, one of the bad sides about this car, I suppose I'll say, well, actually I'll stick with the good sides. Good sides is it has a, if you pick the manual version, the gearbox in this thing is super smooth versus, for example, my Peugeot 206 2014 that has the most crappiest clutch, sad to say, in the world. Versus this thing, it has the most smoothest, but though as it being a diesel, diesels are commonly known, but so is the petrol, the exact same experience. So very easy to drive. The only thing that I have bad side saying about this vehicle though is weirdly enough, the boot. Now the boot's very roomy in the back there, but the boot, when you open it though, it isn't on hydro struts, to keep it open. It's basically just balanced, meaning it could, if you get any high winds, it could pretty much whack you on the head at any moment. So it is showing its cheap side of things, but though this is a relatively cheap car from the beginning. So yeah, let's talk about features, and I might want to as well turn it to the other side of the camera, because there is a fair bit to show. So let me change angles and let's have a look around. Okay, so inside the car, pretty well, this is the fabric. They do a white and a white and a black, like this one is. This is the black version, and you can get anything as whatever you like. Instead of having this normal CD, you can get a touchscreen with the Apple CarPlay and Android Play, I believe, or Android Auto, or whatever the hell it's called. You can option out for a digital climate control instead of the manual one, and other things. You can also option it, instead of just having the front two electric windows, you can have rear as well. This one comes standard with winders at the back. If I can squeeze it in that. So yeah, that's that. And also another unusual thing about this vehicle is there's no speakers in the door. They have the main two speakers mounted on the corners of the dashboard, and the two on the rear parcel shelf, both on one side behind these headrests. By the way, the headrests are, strangely enough, are not adjustable in the back, but the front ones luckily are. So yeah, radio side of things though, even with the radio, so speaking, it is already sounds pretty good for what it is. I can, even in quiet mode, still sounds quite loud, and you can really make it interesting if you want. So yeah, better turn that off for obvious reasons. I'll just turn it off that way. Trying to do this one-handed, of course. So yeah, stereo sounds pretty good for what it is. Of course, we have full instrumentation. You don't have fuel or temperature gauge, but though where it shows the mileage, this actually has 48,000. It's still, and that estimates for anyone that's interested in miles, that's about 29,851 when I just searched it up. I think I've got that dead on actually on top of my head. So yeah, that it's pretty low mileage, and it still drives like a new one compared to the same as my 13,000, I think now 15,000 mile Peugeot 208, and it definitely feels still like a brand new car, but though as it's only the most 2 years old, it should be. So yeah, I suppose without any ado though, I'll tell you a bit more about the engine side of things. So first of all, we're not going for a drive, but let me just turn it on and explain some things. Starts up instantly. I'm just going to turn that radio off so it doesn't blast us again. So yeah, it's a 1.6 diesel. I'm going to show you some of the options. Your fuel economy is on the gauge. Your average instant MPG. I can change that by just clicking this button on the side here. If I click that, it changes the information you see in the middle there. That can go anything to distance, how much fuel you have in the tank for distance, to how much the trip has, and how much you've got to the fuel station. That's actually what that is. I don't know what the other one was, but I thought it was. And of course you've got the fuel gauge there in the middle. No temperature, as I saw, that tells you your cruise control and your time in the corner. It is an hour out though, strangely enough. So yeah, you've got aircon. Normal thing, to turn your aircon on, you tap it, and to tap it again, you turn it off like that. I think I might just turn it off at the moment because it's getting a bit chilly in here. So yeah, it's pretty responsive, though the throttle response, I'm not going to do anything stupid because I'm not like that, but though this is my hand for the accelerator when I'm actually pressing it, as sometimes these electric ones do have a bit of a lag, like this one sort of has. But though this one is quite responsive for what it is, it doesn't do bad at all. It's actually quite nippy. So that's quite good. Of course, when the speed driving, it's fine. So yeah, that's really responsive. I can show you other things as well. To change the air direction, you do that. You can change the inside air, but we want the outside. We can change to facing our feet. My feet are actually very sweaty at the moment, so that's quite ideal. I'm going to turn the aircon on, so that's cooling my sweaty feet down there. To do the windows, you just do these ones, normal operation. They're not automatic. You have to do the manual by holding down on the switch. So yeah, that's that one. In the glove box, quite a big glove box actually. So yeah, that's pretty much it really from the inside. But yeah, the engine as well, it's quite peppy. It sounds good. I'll just open the window so you can slightly hear that. So yeah, sounds pretty good for a diesel, but though it hasn't done much mileage at all, so you would expect that. But so that's basically the inside. So there's one thing that I haven't seen, I'm sure you'd be interested, but let's have a look at the engine bay and see what we have there to offer, or to see more than anything. Here at the bonnet, we'll have a look inside. Might just take a bit to find the latch. There you go, I've got it. Here, let me just put the top up so we can so I can show you inside properly. So I just touch my hand. There you go. So here you go. Here's the engine. There isn't much to show. It doesn't have any blingy stuff, but it is basic, and the engine does take the whole full size of the engine bay. Normal 12-volt battery, normal traditional size, but the engine is pretty much the same as any other average Citroen, like the 207 or 208 or something beyond those lines. Well, that's quite noisy for being a quiet road, but yeah. There's a little baby turbocharger. Wow, that's a small turbocharger. Look at that, it's about the size of my fist. But yeah, for what it is though, that's quite a good punch from a little turbo like that, surprisingly. I didn't know it was that small. But yeah, that's basically what the engine is. Hasn't got any plastic covers, it's just film, but yeah, that's the engine. To the boot area, I'm going to show you the problem that I have with the boot, but I'll talk about of how it just randomly closes down. So first of all, there's no physical button, you have to use the remote to open the boot. So we'll do that. So as you see, it holds up your self-load, but if you don't put it all the way to the top, it'll stay there, but it's got no struts, meaning if you accidentally knock it, or you haven't put it all the way up to the top, you see, it only needs a little bit of a touch of wind, and it's off with the fairies. But though, of course, it doesn't slam shut, so your finger's alright, but though your head could be a bit instructed. And the other problem is, as well, is because of these arms, it doesn't actually go into the sides of the walls. I mean, the stuff you actually put in the boot may not fit, because the arms actually use half of the boot space. I mean, if you have massive suitcases, they actually may not fit, meaning it could be a bit of a problem. So that's the only thing I have to say about the boot with this saloon. Okay. That's pretty much it for me for this review. It was only a little one. I hope you've enjoyed it. But though the most important question though is, would I recommend this to anyone that was buying this in the UK if they ever come to the UK market? And the question is yes. It's a perfect little saloon. I don't know why they don't sell them here already, but in the UK already. But though it's a perfect little car for most people's need, and it has a very big boot for being a small saloon. But though that will only be time to come in the question to see if they ever do turn up on the UK market. But in the meantime though, for anyone in Europe, it's definitely a very good buy and something very good to pick up for, and especially on the used market for a very good deal. So yeah, as much as I'm going to miss this thing, I should end this video. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little review and what my thoughts on it. And stuff like that. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe, and I hope to see you and join me in my next video. Thanks very much everybody. Cheers for now. Bye.